Okay, so here is your first assignment, and if you remember our 4 assignment categories, this is in the assignment of just tutorials, like where they're all the same. It's not the creative work, but we want to be doing those nonetheless. And the concept is just to play with your supplies and figure out all the different kinds of lines and textures that you can make. Now you see that I do this constantly because it gives me new ideas, right? So this is waterproof ink. The black lines are waterproof ink, but this is non-waterproof ink, right? This is just fountain pen ink that I've loaded into my brush here. You could do this with watercolors too, and just see how these interact, right? So let's get maybe some watercolor going. All right, so how is it going to be to paint, red watercolor over waterproof ink? Like, oh my God, that looks really nice. That is a cool effect, right? How is it going to be to work with waterproof ink and non-waterproof ink? Oh gosh, this has so much potential, right? Let me make sure I'm in the frame here. Oh yeah. Okay, so just see how lovely that is. I mean, we're just talking about, I think that's something in drawing. Like people say, oh, I can't draw, or I don't draw, but there's so many different parts of drawing. You can really spend your entire studio time just as a colorist. And I think I saw, some beautiful graffiti art already in people's profiles. I forget who that was. I'm sorry. I'm still learning your names. But there's so many, like saying you can't draw is like saying you can't walk, right? Or saying like, oh, I can't eat or something like that. The real question, kind of, if you think about food, is like, oh well, what food do you like? You might like cheeseburgers. You might like gourmet food. So that is the same thing, I think, with drawing and illustration. It's just so incredibly rich, and when you say you can't draw, you are just kind of saying that you don't know what you like. That you always have the same food every day, and you just don't know that much about it, right? Like that's all there is to it. So okay, so your assignment is basically to use all these things interactively. So here's my waterproof pen. I can see, like, try to make different kinds of lines, different kinds of textures. This makes a certain kind of line. I give it a minute for the ink to dry. This is my let me see what else I have here. This is my Conte crayon, right? So we're just getting those textures to interact, right? Like, oh, this would be, this is pretty incredible together. It's sort of like I can make really soft clouds with this, right? All of my ideas come from surfaces. I'm always trying to get better at drawing, but gosh, when I see this material and I know how I can make a cloud or smoke in about 5 seconds, right? Just because I have this material. Let me see. Another critical one is the pencil, right? So this is our 2mm pencil, and this is what I mainly use for those under drawings, but you could use it in the final drawing, but just get the feeling of the weight of it, get the feeling of what your style is. Gosh, especially with pencil, it always makes me feel like drawing really fast, right? And that's so great when you have a light table or you have another media, because, for instance, you might be interested in these curvy shapes or really straight lines, but you can't draw straight lines if you focus on them. Like you have to you have to go really fast in order to create those kind of lines, right? So once you have that line, you can go into something like with a little more rendering power that you want to work a little slower with, like this ink and nib, and then you have a structure to follow, right? So when you're concentrating, you will, so for instance, I'm going through the wolf's body, but my line is exactly the same because I drew it quickly with a pencil. So almost every time I draw, I do, kind of like warm-ups like this, where I'm just practicing with textures, and I'm just trying to give myself new techniques, right? And have ideas. That's one thing about creativity, is everyone will always say, "Oh, I'm not creative. I don't have ideas. I don't know. It's so amazing. Where do your ideas come from?" And ideas are, ideas and creativity, like, boy, you just have to build it. You have to build your imagination, and you have to build your technique every single day, right? So when I see something like this, like, it's really linear, and then it has this nice edge, I think of a certain kind of a surface, like maybe if I was drawing, like a feather or something like that, I might use something like this, right? So it's all about just adding stuff to your repertoire. It's not always necessarily, accurate drawings. It's more like the tactile sensation of what your strokes create, right? Cool. Now I'm having this idea, like, what about flames or something like that, right? How do you make flames and get them still to show light, even though it's black ink? Might make them really light. You might make some kind of like a little radiance on the edge. And you might want them to be a flat pattern, because that's not something you can accurately draw anyway. So just, take a page like this and show just a range of things, show a range of different techniques, and especially what I want you guys to work on is waterproof ink, which is Yasutomo, and the other source of waterproof ink is, well, actually, let's discuss that. So we have a few things that are waterproof. So this brush pen is waterproof. That's why we love it so much. This Precise, Pilot Precise version 7, if you get that, is waterproof. Yasutomo ink with a quill nib is also waterproof. So that's a huge advantage, because if you simply just let this dry, and then blow on it, then, like with my, I'll step away for a few minutes, have some tea or something like that. Then when I come back, and I'm thinking about this wolf, I can really, really easily add color or value with one of these water-soluble media, right? So I have kind of this gray going here, and basically I won't smear my drawing. So that's a huge part of just all illustration, right? Is the texture is in the line, but the value is somewhere else, right? With the watercolors or water-soluble things, they're really easy to kind of, change and manipulate. I always have a cloth, and you know what I like? I like those cloths for cleaning electronics or for cleaning your glasses. They're just really nice to use, and they're really absorbent. Yeah, right? So there's just, gosh, there's a ton of power. Like, I love this wolf drawing. I could see using it, and by the way, here's another example of the light table. I don't have the pencil version of it, but see what I mean? I accurately drew all of the proportions, and then I light tabled him, and then I didn't worry about the structure anymore. I just worried about making a cool pattern that I wanted to work with for his fur. So we'll talk more about that as the class progresses. But your basic assignment is to work with your waterproof and non-waterproof materials. And if you bought some of those pens, like this is a gray pen. I think this one is dead, but this is also non-waterproof ink, and they work really well together. So create kind of. So your idea is to just, I mean, it doesn't have to have any kind of a drawing or anything. It's just to experiment with the materials and see how they interact, right? And see like what kind of emotions and feelings you can get from everything. And I make notes to myself, like this, oh, cool, Conte clouds. That could be a strategy that I use, right? This is like, I really like this fur, right? That could be something that I remember, and I remember how to do it. I really like this. This is kind of crystals. Crystals are architectural, right? Crystals, and that is with my Pilot Precise. And then this is, wow, look at how, I don't know, there's just something, dark or passionate, like maybe some kind of a night scene or something like that. So you are generating ideas, and you're finding ways to create sensations, right? That will help you finish your drawings. This, I never like pencil as the final structure, but I'm totally dependent on pencil for sure. All right, that's it. So, yeah.